Before we go any further, let me give you the 3 words that retirement planners almost never say out loud. Your house lies. It sits there looking like your greatest asset, your security blanket, your legacy, and all the while it could be the very thing silently dismantling your retirement before it even begins. If you have ever typed into a search bar phrases like, "Should I sell my home before retirement?" or "Is RV living actually cheaper?" or "How do I retire debt-free in 10 years?" then this video was built specifically for you. We are about to answer every single one of those questions with real numbers, real scenarios, and zero sugarcoating. Stay with us, because the next few minutes could genuinely change the financial trajectory of the rest of your life. Picture this. You are 52 years old. You and your spouse are sitting in a 4-bedroom house that once buzzed with kids, homework, and weekend chaos. Now it is mostly quiet. The kids have their own lives, their own apartments, their own problems. You have a mortgage with about 15 years left, a decent chunk sitting in market investments, and a retirement dream that feels real but somehow just out of reach. Sound familiar? Here is what most people in this exact situation do not realize. The decade between your early 50s and your early 60s is not just another chapter. It is the most financially consequential window of your entire life. The decisions you make right now about your home, your debt, and your lifestyle vision will determine everything. Every single choice carries enormous weight. Now let's talk about why so many people in their 50s refuse to even consider leaving their family home. And honestly, the reasons are completely understandable. That 4-bedroom house holds decades of memories. Birthdays, holidays, the height marks on the doorframe. There's real emotional weight in those walls, and no spreadsheet can fully capture that. Beyond sentiment, most homeowners genuinely believe real estate always goes up. And historically, they're not wrong. Add in the practical argument, where will the grandchildren sleep when they visit? And then there's the neighborhood itself, the familiar coffee shop, the neighbors you've known for 20 years, the comfort of knowing exactly where everything is. These feelings are not weakness, they are deeply human. But here's where we need to pause and ask a harder question. What is staying actually costing you? Now let's talk about the number that tends to shock people the most. Most homeowners dramatically underestimate what it actually costs to maintain a large family home each year. Let's break it down honestly. Property taxes on a $400,000 to $600,000 home can run $4,000 to $10,000 annually. Homeowners insurance adds another $2,000 to $4,000. Utilities for rooms nobody uses, heating empty bedrooms, lighting unused hallways, that alone can cost $3,000 to $5,000 per year. Then add routine maintenance, landscaping, roof repairs, HVAC servicing, and you are easily looking at another $8,000 to $15,000. Throw in HOA fees where applicable, and the opportunity cost of equity sitting idle instead of compounding in the market, and the real picture becomes undeniable. Many families are quietly spending $30,000 to $40,000 every single year maintaining a home they are only using half of. Now let's talk real numbers, because this is where things get genuinely exciting. Imagine a couple sells their $500,000 family home. They pay off their remaining mortgage of $200,000 and walk away with $300,000 in pure equity. That money, sitting in a diversified portfolio earning a conservative 6 to 7% annually, does something remarkable over the next 10 years. At 6%, $300,000 becomes approximately $537,000. At 7%, it grows to nearly $590,000. That is nearly $300,000 in new wealth created from a single decision. No extra income required, no risky investments, just the power of compound interest working on equity that was previously locked inside 4 walls you barely used. One decision, made at the right moment, can fundamentally transform your retirement picture. Here is where the story gets genuinely exciting, because downsizing is not a retreat. It is often the single greatest quality of life upgrade a pre-retiree can make. Imagine trading a drafty 4-bedroom house with a leaking roof for a brand new, energy-efficient home half the size. Lower utility bills, no weekend maintenance projects stealing your time, no gutters to clean, no aging systems demanding your attention or your wallet. Now picture a 55-plus community with a pool, fitness center, walking trails, and neighbors who actually want to socialize. That is not settling, that is thriving. And here is the part most people miss. When your housing costs drop by $1,000 to $1,500 monthly, that freed-up cash flow becomes your adventure fund. Trips to Europe, national parks, experiences that actually build the retirement life you have been dreaming about. Now that we have walked through the home decision, let us zoom out and ask a bigger question. What does true financial freedom actually feel like? Not just on paper, not just in a retirement calculator, but in your chest, in your sleep, in the way you wake up on a Monday morning without dread. Because here is what most people never fully consider. The home is just one piece of the debt puzzle. Entering retirement with zero debt, including a completely paid-off mortgage, is not simply an emotional win. It is mathematically superior in ways that most financial advisors gloss over or skip entirely. They will show you spreadsheets about market returns, but they rarely show you the full picture of what debt actually costs you when your paycheck disappears forever. That conversation starts right now. Now let's talk pure numbers, because this is where things get really eye-opening. Imagine two retirees with identical lifestyles and identical needs. The only difference is that one carries a $1,500 monthly mortgage payment while the other owns their home free and clear. That $1,500 monthly obligation adds up to $18,000 every single year. At the commonly used 4% withdrawal rate, you need a portfolio 25 times your annual expenses to sustain retirement. Do the math. $18,000 multiplied by 25 equals $450,000. That means the debt-carrying retiree needs $450,000 more in savings just to break even with their debt-free neighbor. Not to live better, not to travel more, simply to reach the same starting line. That is the true cost of carrying debt into retirement. Now let's be fair to the other side, because smart people disagree on this. Many financial advisors will tell you to keep your mortgage and invest the difference. Their logic goes like this. If your mortgage rate is 4% and your investments return 7%, you come out ahead. On paper, during a decade-long bull market, that math actually works. We should acknowledge that honestly. But here is where the argument quietly falls apart. The moment you retire and income stops, everything changes. You are now selling investments to cover that fixed mortgage payment every single month. If the market drops 30% in your first year of retirement, you are locking in devastating losses just to keep the lights on. That is called sequence of returns risk, and it is the silent destroyer of otherwise solid retirement plans. Numbers on a spreadsheet tell one story. Human behavior tells a completely different one. Here is what the math cannot capture. When markets drop 30% and a retiree still owes $1,500 every single month, panic sets in. They sell their investments at exactly the wrong moment, locking in losses that take years to recover from. That fear-based decision destroys more retirement wealth than almost any market crash ever could. Now contrast that with the debt-free retiree. Their basic living expenses are already covered. They can sit back, breathe, and leave their portfolio completely untouched while everyone else is scrambling. This is what financial professionals call sleep well at night money, and it is not just an emotional preference. It is a legitimate, battle-tested strategy. Peace of mind is not a soft concept. It is a measurable financial advantage that protects your wealth precisely when protection matters most. Here is where everything clicks into place. Imagine two retirees, both starting with $400,000, both averaging 7% returns over 20 years. The only difference is the order of those returns. Retiree 1 experiences losses in years 1 through 3, then gains later. Retiree 2 gets the gains first, losses later. Same average, completely different outcomes. Retiree 1, carrying that $1,500 monthly mortgage obligation, is forced to sell investments during those early down years just to cover bills. They are locking in losses permanently. Their portfolio never recovers. Retiree 2, completely debt-free, touches nothing during the downturn. Their investments rebound fully. 20 years later, one retiree is financially comfortable, the other has run out of money entirely. Same market, same average return. The debt made all the difference. Now let's talk about something that genuinely gets people excited. And honestly, we love this conversation. The RV retirement dream. Few visions in the entire retirement planning space capture the imagination quite like this one. Waking up to a sunrise over Yellowstone, brewing your morning coffee with no alarm clock, no fixed address, no obligations, just you, the open road, and absolute freedom. We completely understand why millions of Americans have this dream pinned to their vision boards. It is romantic, it is adventurous, and it represents everything retirement should feel like. But here is where we need to have an honest conversation, because the version of full-time RV living you see on Instagram and YouTube is a carefully curated highlight reel. The financial reality underneath that beautiful footage is significantly more complicated, more expensive, and more challenging than most people ever anticipate before making this life-changing leap. Now let's talk about the RV retirement dream and what it actually costs to live it full-time. The fantasy is freedom. The reality starts with a price tag. A quality motorhome runs anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000. And just like a new car, the moment you drive it off the lot, depreciation hits hard and fast. Then comes diesel fuel. Full-time RVers routinely spend $1,000 to $2,000 every single month just keeping the wheels turning. Add campground and RV park fees on top of that. Many desirable destinations, think coastal spots, national park areas, popular tourist corridors, charge nightly rates that rival a mid-range hotel room. $30, $40, even $60 per night adds up fast. Suddenly that budget-friendly retirement lifestyle starts looking a lot more expensive than the Instagram highlight reel ever suggested. Now let's pull back the curtain on what experienced full-timers call the cost iceberg. The purchase price is just the tip. Underneath the surface lurks a maintenance reality that shocks most first-timers. A motorhome is simultaneously a home and a machine, which means it carries the repair demands of both. Roof seals need regular inspection and resealing to prevent catastrophic water damage. Slide-out mechanisms fail at the worst possible moments, often in remote locations. Generators require consistent servicing, chassis maintenance mirrors that of a commercial vehicle, and every appliance, from the refrigerator to the water heater, operates under constant road vibration. Repairs are rarely cheap and rarely convenient. Here is the number that stops most dreamers cold. Experienced full-timers budget 10 to 15% of their RV purchase price annually just for maintenance and repairs alone. On a $200,000 motorhome, that is $20,000 to $30,000 every single year. Now here is where the RV dream gets truly expensive in ways most people never anticipate before hitting the road. Full-time RV insurance is a completely different product than standard auto or homeowners coverage. Most traditional insurers will not even write a full-time policy. Specialized carriers that do offer it charge significantly higher premiums, often 2 to 3 times what you might expect, because your RV is simultaneously your vehicle and your primary residence. But the healthcare issue is where things can genuinely unravel. Most full-time RVers are in their 50s, years away from Medicare eligibility. Without a fixed state domicile, obtaining and maintaining health insurance becomes a bureaucratic nightmare. Many marketplace plans restrict coverage to specific networks tied to your registered state, meaning out-of-network medical bills can arrive suddenly and devastatingly, threatening everything you have carefully built. Now let's put real numbers side by side. A full-time RVer realistically spends between $45,000 and $65,000 annually when you honestly total fuel, campground fees, insurance, maintenance, and healthcare. Meanwhile, a couple owning a modest paid-off home in a low-cost-of-living area might spend between $28,000 and $38,000 per year covering property taxes, utilities, insurance, and upkeep. That gap is significant, sometimes exceeding $20,000 annually. But here's what makes it even more striking. The homeowner is building equity and asset appreciation, while the RVer watches their depreciating vehicle lose value every single mile. The full-timer also lacks stable healthcare infrastructure and consistent community roots. The math simply does not favor full-time RV living as a cost-cutting strategy. However, there is a smarter path forward, using an RV as a powerful supplement to a home base rather than replacing it entirely. Here is the good news. You do not have to choose between adventure and financial security. The hybrid strategy gives you both. Picture this: a smaller paid-off home or a 55-plus community as your anchor, paired with a modest travel trailer or Class B camper van for seasonal adventures. This approach completely changes the financial equation. Your home base handles healthcare infrastructure, mail, and domicile requirements. Your travel rig, purchased outright for $30,000 to $60,000, handles the wanderlust. You hit the road in spring and fall, return home for winter and summer. No full-time fuel bills, no year-round campground fees, no living inside a repair nightmare. Independent studies of part-time RVers consistently show they capture roughly 80% of the lifestyle satisfaction at approximately 40% of the full-time cost. That is not a compromise, that is a strategy. Here is where everything clicks into place. These three decisions, your home, your debt, and your retirement lifestyle, are not separate choices. They are one interconnected system, and when you align them intentionally, the results are extraordinary. Consider this sequence. You downsize your large family home, freeing up $300,000 in equity. You use a portion of that equity to eliminate every remaining dollar of debt, including your mortgage. Now your monthly overhead drops dramatically. Suddenly, the hybrid RV lifestyle we discussed is not a financial stretch. It is completely sustainable. Each decision amplifies the others. Downsizing creates capital. Eliminating debt reduces your required monthly income. Reducing required income makes flexible, adventure-driven living genuinely affordable. This is not three separate financial moves. This is a complete retirement philosophy built on intentional, interconnected decisions that compound in your favor every single year leading up to retirement day. Now let's make this real. Here is your decade-by-decade action framework. In years 10 through 8, evaluate your home honestly. Get an appraisal, calculate your true carrying costs, and decide whether downsizing makes mathematical sense. Years 7 through 6 are your aggressive debt elimination window. Redirect every freed-up dollar toward your mortgage and any remaining obligations. By year 5, your balance sheet should be nearly clean. This is also when you begin seriously researching RV options, attending shows, renting different styles, and separating the dream from the reality. Years 4 through 3, stress test your retirement plan against a 30% market drop scenario. Can you survive without touching investments for 2 full years? Years 2 through 1, finalize your home-based strategy, confirm your hybrid RV approach, and lock in your healthcare plan. Retirement readiness is not a feeling. It is a checklist you can actually complete. Your dream retirement was never about having the most money. It was always about making the smartest decisions with what you have. Selling the oversized home, eliminating every dollar of debt, and approaching the RV dream with clear, honest eyes. These are not sacrifices. These are acts of financial courage. They are the moves that separate people who dream about retirement from people who actually live it fully and freely. So here is the big question only you can answer. Are you holding on to the family home for the memories or for the math? Because those are two very different reasons, and only one of them builds the retirement you actually want. If you have been thinking seriously about downsizing to accelerate your 10-year countdown, drop a yes in the comments right now and tell me the one thing holding you back. Is it the market or is it the memories? I will be jumping in personally to talk through the math with you, because sometimes all it takes is seeing the numbers clearly to make the decision feel a whole lot easier. You now have the framework, you have the math, you have the strategy. The only thing left is the decision to begin. Start your 10-year countdown today. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a review so more people can find this conversation. And always remember, the best retirement is not the most expensive one. It is the most intentional one.